DETV News is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
Hey everybody, it's April from DETV, and guess where I am at? I am here. I am at Nerdit. Nerdit has so many things that we use on an everyday basis. Everything in this place is at half off on a retail level. Let me just show you some of the things that we found here at Nerdit. We got laptops, Apple products, Dell products, all for very low prices. We got the Acers here. How many parents really don't have time to do family trips or whatever? We go in our backyard, we fill up this pool, boom, and you got the goggles to go with the pool. I ain't worried about the kids getting chlorine in their eyes. This is super cool. This will keep the kids engaged. The colors are bright and energetic. So y'all looking for the summertime water shoes for the kids? Nerdit now got Nike water shoes. Beauty Rest mattresses. Who needs a new mattress? What are these? Twin size, full size mattresses? Brand new mattresses in the bags, y'all. 16-inch fans, 12-inch fans, 5,000 BTU air conditioners, y'all. Spider-Man. This one might not be here either. I might buy this for my granddaughter. We got the Christmas scented smell goods. You getting ready for the holidays. We got the security cameras. You need to make sure that the house is protected when you're away. You got the Ninja. You got the food processors going on in here. Wow. You want the kids to run outside. You know they tearing up some stuff and we've got to replace them shoes every couple of months. Come on out here. All right, guys, this is April in the Small Business Network here over at DETV. Where you want me to go next? Put it in the comments and I am there.
Tonight, chased with a noose, two former firefighters now face hate crime charges. What investigators say happened inside a local firehouse. Plus, revoked visas spark outrage after 8 international students are forced to leave the University of Delaware. And should teachers convicted of child abuse lose their state pensions? A controversial bill just failed in a House committee. Hear both sides of this heated debate. Those stories and much more straight ahead, plus your local forecast and sports news. DETV News starts now. Hello and welcome to DETV News for Thursday, April 17th. I'm Matt Ford. Here's what's making headlines today across the first state. 2 former Millville volunteer firefighters face hate crime charges today after allegedly chasing a coworker with a noose and making racist comments. Delaware State Police say 27-year-old Jay Droney and 23-year-old Jordan Hastings were arrested on April 15th after the Millville Volunteer Fire Company reported this February incident. Investigators say the pair pursued the employee around the fire station with a rope shaped like a noose. Droney also made repeated racist remarks. Both of these men were charged with felonies and harassment, arraigned and released on their own recognizance. Police said this happened on Tuesday. And in response, Delaware Senate leaders issued a joint statement condemning the arrest of 2 former Millville Volunteer Fire Company members following a hate crime investigation we just told you about. Those suspects reportedly used racist threats and a noose to intimidate a colleague. Well, Senate leadership called the actions abhorrent, praising the fire company and state police for their swift action. They reaffirmed their commitment to fighting hate and fostering safe, inclusive communities across Delaware. In other news today, Delaware Governor Matt Meyer signed an executive order today, Thursday, April 17th, launching a 5-year plan to cut homelessness in half and ensure all juveniles have stable housing. The new 15-member Delaware Interagency Collaborative to End Homelessness will lead the effort. The state reports a 16% rise in homelessness from 2024 to 2025, with over 27% of those affected are actually under 18 years old. Meyer spoke at the Hope Center in Newcastle County, now a shelter and resource hub. Officials say the initiative could examine similar support to Kent and Sussex counties to meet the growing crisis statewide.
All of us here, we have the power. When you look around this room, we have the power and access to people and resources to truly impact those who are staying up in the middle of the night because the roof is leaking or don't even have a roof over their head on the coldest and hottest days.
In other news, dozens gathered Wednesday in the recitation hall at Courtyard at the University of Delaware protesting revoked visas for 8 international students. Organizer Emma Abrams criticized the university's response as inadequate. The school launched a Q&A page explaining the revocations were triggered by a Homeland Security system. Some professors are warning of long-term consequences of these actions, and the university says it's complying with federal law while supporting affected students with resources and legal assistance. And speaking of protests, 2 protests are planned near Wilmington Airport opposing Avelo Airlines' new deportation flight contract with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Advocacy group 302 United will rally on April 19th, that's this weekend, at the Wilmington Airport, while Indivisible Highlands and Beyond will host what they're calling a honk and wave next week on April 24th. That's going to be along Route 13. These protests follow a petition with over 33,000 signatures urging a boycott. Avelo, Delaware's only commercial airline, signed the deal back on April 7th, prompting backlash over deportations under the Trump administration, including concerns about due process and detainee treatment. And the Trump administration has temporarily reversed its decision to defund Delaware's Manufacturing Extension Partnership program. The Reagan-era initiative aimed at supporting small and mid-sized manufacturers was among 11 programs nationwide slated for cuts this month. Delaware Representative Sarah McBride led a bipartisan push, urging the U.S. Department of Commerce to reconsider. Well, on April 15th, the National Institute of Standards and Technology confirmed renewed funding through the fiscal year. Delaware Technical Community College, which operates this program, says the funding supports hundreds of jobs and millions in investments statewide. To another move seeking to protect citizens' rights, Delaware lawmakers introduced House Bill 119, the Freedom to Read Act, to prevent book bans in public schools and libraries across our state. The bill prohibits removing materials based on an author's identity or political, religious, or ideological objections. It establishes a formal review procedure for challenges and protects library staff following collection policies. Supporters say it preserves access to diverse viewpoints and prevents censorship. A review committee would oversee disputed materials, promoting transparency and fairness. And Delaware Senate leaders have rejected 2 of Governor Matt Meyer's nominees to the Port of Wilmington's board, escalating a power struggle over the port's future. The fight stems from a $635 million container terminal project delayed by lawsuits and political conflict. Senate leaders say the board needs, quote, different voices, citing concerns about labor support. Meyer declined any comment. And some Delaware lawmakers are pushing to amend the state constitution to make the right to marry a fundamental one. Senator Russ Huxtable introduced the bill amid national concerns about potential threats to same-sex marriage rights. Huxtable said this endures strong protections for our neighbors and community. LGBTQ+ advocates, including Camp Rehoboth and Sussex Pride, both support the proposal as a vital safeguard. The amendment would not compel religious groups to perform marriages. It must pass 2 consecutive legislative sessions to become law. And in other news today, the Charter School of Wilmington could relocate to McCain High School under one of 12 ideas from a Red Clay Consolidated School District Committee addressing enrollment imbalances. With AI DuPont High at just over 46% capacity, the district is exploring solutions like consolidating schools, adding an innovation center, or expanding magnet programs. While moving charter would not increase enrollment, it would give the school full control of its facilities. The committee will revisit proposals coming up on May 1st, aiming for recommendations by fall and changes possibly happening at the beginning of 2027 and 2028 school year. And Delaware Representative Kevin Hensley of Odessa will lose his driver's license for a year after pleading guilty to DUI and third-degree vehicular assault. The State Justice Department announced this on April 16th. Hensley crashed into another vehicle back on November 9th, days after his re-election. The victim, who later died of unrelated causes, suffered hand and face injuries. Hensley's blood alcohol level was reportedly twice the legal limit. He received a probation, a $500 fine, and an 18-month suspended prison term. Hensley expressed regret and said he has entered a recovery program. And homophobic bias is what Alexander Molina claims why he was choked unconscious by an off-duty officer named Justin Castera during what's called a Beer Olympics party. This happened last summer. Well, 25-year-old Molina alleges that officer, drunk and enraged by homophobic bias, attacked him while he was speaking to the officer's son. A 44-year-old Newcastle County police veteran, he was charged with third-degree assault and faces trial in May. 25-year-old Molina is also suing, calling the incident a hate crime. Officer Castera remains on paid leave today. Prosecutors say the attack was not motivated by sexual orientation. Molina seeks damages for physical injuries as well as emotional trauma. State police have arrested 22-year-old Jamal Riddick of Blades, Delaware, as the second suspect in the March 12th homicide of 23-year-old Schweitzer Dessen of Seaford's Nutter Park. Riddick faces multiple felony charges, including first-degree murder. He was arraigned and committed on a $1.34 million cash bond. During the arrest, police also charged 20-year-old Demir Riddick, also of Blades, Delaware, with felony gun offenses after finding weapons and ammunition in his possession. He was jailed on an $80,000 bond. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information is urged to contact Delaware State Police. And a bill that would deny pensions to educators convicted of child sexual abuse has stalled in a Delaware House committee this week. House Bill number 113 failed to pass the House Education Committee, but lawmakers say it could still make it to the House floor for a full vote. The bill would strip taxpayer-funded pensions from teachers and school staff found guilty of abuse or solicitation involving a minor. Supporters of this bill, including Representative Brian Shoup and Senator Dave Sokola, say it's about accountability for those who violate public trust. But opponents, including Representatives Eric Morrison and Claire Snyder Hall, raised concerns about whether revoking pensions after a criminal conviction amounts to additional punishment. 3 majority party lawmakers voted in favor of the bill, but it did not receive enough votes to advance through the usual process. Now, lawmakers can still petition to bring it directly to the full House for some consideration. You can read the full bill and track its status at legis.delaware.gov. And advocates urged lawmakers on April 16th of this week to back Senate Bill 10, which would expand early release opportunities for rehabilitated or terminally ill prisoners. The Senate Judiciary Committee approved the bill, named after late civil rights leader Richard Mouse Smith. SB 10 reforms the 4217 process by removing key veto powers, expanding eligibility, and granting prisoners the right to counsel. Critics cited court backlogs, but supporters argued the bill promotes rehabilitation and reduces prison costs. The legislation now heads to the full Senate for consideration. No agencies opposed the bill during the hearing. And new this week, Delaware is enhancing its 911 system to allow callers to stream live video, send photos, and use real-time text translation. The upgraded system, compliant now with the Americans with Disabilities Act, includes TTY capabilities and aims to improve emergency response. All municipalities are connected, with full implementation expected by 2026. Officials say the features will help responders assess incidents more effectively. And with first responders getting a tech upgrade, let's find out if the weekend has any upgrades in the weather. Shakara is here with that, and of course, her famous event spotlight. Hey there, Shakara.
Hey, Matt. Oh, we are definitely getting an upgrade this weekend when it comes to the weather. I mean, the sun has been out for the last few days. There's been less wind gusts, so we are clearly moving in the right direction. Let's jump right into your DETV weekend weather forecast. For Feel Good Friday, we'll kick off the weekend with a mix of clouds and sunshine, breezy conditions, and a high of 71 degrees. Overnight temps will dip to about 58 degrees. It'll be perfect for wrapping up the work week with a brisk walk around Trolley Square or hitting the riverfront before dinner. On Saturday, spring really turns up the heat. heat, literally, with another breezy day. Highs will be reaching 80 degrees and lows around 58 degrees. It's the ideal day for those shorts and tees and taking a bike ride through the Brandywine Park or doing some yard work. And for splendid Sunday, you'll see more sun and clouds with a daytime high of 70 degrees and a cool 50 degrees at night. So if you're planning to check out any of our local farmers markets or take the kids to Rockford Park, you better layer up. And of course, I have some excellent Easter events happening around Delaware this weekend. First up is the 11th Annual Health, Wellness, and Empowerment Summit happening on Saturday, April 26th. Hosted by the Wilmington, Delaware alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at P.S. DuPont Middle School in Wilmington, you can expect free health screenings and vaccines, a moving survivor fashion show, a community luncheon, and networking opportunities inspiring empowerment sessions, and more. Secure your ticket now at the link provided below on your screen. Now, if you have kiddos around for the weekend and need to know where to go for those Easter egg hunts, I got you covered. If you will be down south, check out the Great Delaware Kite Festival and Easter egg hunt on Friday, April 18th at Cape Henlopen State Park in Lewis. Kick off the festivities with an Easter egg hunt at 11 a.m., followed by kite competitions, food vendors, and a visit from you-know-who, the Easter Bunny. At the Dover Town Common on Saturday will be the Welcome Spring Annual Egg Hunt and Crafts. Join the community for an egg hunt starting at 10 o'clock a.m., followed by crafts until 11 a.m. Now, if you will be around the Wilmington area, you can take the kids to the Easter Extravaganza on Saturday, April 19th at the Three Palm Zoo in Clayton. Enjoy animal encounters, crafts, and an egg hunt from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Admission is $6 per person with an additional $3 for the egg hunt. And you also have the Ramsey's Farm Easter egg hunt on Saturday at the Ramsey's Farm in Wilmington. Experience a unique egg hunt where children exchange eggs for prize packs. Enjoy hay rides, farm animals, and meet the Easter Bunny. Enjoy the sunshine, DETV fam. Stay safe. And remember, the best weather isn't just in the forecast. It's in the moments you create. Back to you, Matt.
Sounds good, Shakara. Thank you so much. We'll, of course, see you next week. In other headlines today, Delaware is experiencing dramatic demographic changes. That's according to a new report from the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. They say the population has surged nearly 21% since the year 2006. This is fueled by retirees and immigration. But challenges loom. Those include rising housing costs, falling birth rates, and a shrinking labor force. The report, called "The Trends Shaping Delaware's Future," highlights a 44% increase in foreign-born residents and a 92% jump in those over 65 years of age. Chamber President Michael Quaranta says data-driven policy is essential. Consumer behavior, housing, and workforce dynamics, he says, are shifting, and we must plan ahead. And Wilmington's ongoing housing crisis took center stage again as former City Councilwoman Brigida Fields revisited her proposal to regulate short-term rentals like Airbnbs. Fields' Ordinance 0509 aimed to address rising rent prices and neighborhood disruptions, including noise and pesky parking issues. Despite initial opposition, she vowed to continue advocating for this bill. With Wilmington's poverty rate at 20%, affordable housing is scarce here in the city, and rental prices do continue to surge. Experts argue that limiting short-term rentals could alleviate pressure on the market, though critics worry enforcement could be challenging. Rent stabilization efforts have also been proposed as part of the solution here. And AMC Networks and Madison Square Garden Entertainment are both seeking shareholder approval to reincorporate from Delaware, you guessed it, to Nevada this June. The move follows recent changes to Delaware's corporate laws aimed at retaining businesses and rising departures. AMC cited increased franchise taxes, legal uncertainty, and lower administrative costs over in Nevada as their key reasons for leaving the first state. The company paid $250,000 in Delaware franchise taxes compared to $3,100 projected over in Nevada. AMC's board believes Nevada offers better legal balance and business flexibility. Both companies disclosed their plans in proxy statements that were filed in early April, with votes scheduled this coming June. And Dover City Councilman Fred Neal, 91 years old, was re-elected Wednesday to serve the city's 3rd district with nearly 67% of the vote. The longest serving council member in Dover's history, Neal plans to focus on affordable housing and combating rising rental costs during his likely final term. Reflecting on his decade-long tenure, Neal says, quote, "If my work was satisfactory, why stop?" Despite age, he remains committed to his role, maintaining his signature sense of humor. I like that. And from politics to playoffs, there's a lot going on in the world of sports this week. And with all that, let's check in with our Nick Alessandrini with the latest. Hey there, Nick.
Thank you, Matt. And a big walk-off last night at Frawley Stadium over in Wilmington. We've got the highlights there and results from this week, plus new rankings for our high school spring sports courtesy from 302, and then maybe some possible changes coming to the DIAA playoffs in the future. Well, let's jump right in, and let's begin with this week's new 302 Sports Top 10 rankings for our spring sports here, as we're going to begin with baseball. Here's your top 10 as we enter this week. Cape Henlopen, Sussex Tech, Sussex Central, Conrad, St. Mark's High School, Dover, DMA, Concord, Sanford, and Sally's, rounding out your baseball top 10. So let's keep it rolling here. Now over to softball with the Spartans of Lake Forest sitting at that top spot, followed by Cape Henlopen, Sussex Academy, Appoquinimink, Polytech. Then you got Delmar, DMA, Caravel, Indian River, and Laurel grabs that 10 spot in softball. Now over to lacrosse fields. We'll start with the boys there. Your defending state champions, no surprise, sitting at number 1, Salesianum, followed by, no surprise once again there at number 2, Cape Henlopen, and then going to open up a bit. Archmere at 3, Friends 4, CR rounding out your top 5, and then Smyrna, Tatnall, Appo, St. Andrews, and Sanford on your boys lacrosse top 10 rankings. Now to the girls side of things, and the Vikings at Cape Henlopen, they're sprinkled across the board here all in the spring. They get the top spot here. Caesar Rodney, Tower Hill, Friends, and Archmere rounding out your top 5. Sussex Academy, Caravel, Odessa, Indian River, and Delaware Military Academy rounding out the top 10 for girls lacrosse. To the pitch, we've got 2 divisions here in girls soccer. We're going to start with Division 1. Appoquinimink, your top team there, followed by Wilmington Charter, Del Castle, Middletown, Padua, Caesar Rodney. Then you've got Cape Henlopen, St. George's, Polytech, and Sussex Central rounding out your girls soccer rankings. So from Division 1 now over to Division 2, and the Caravel Buccaneers grabbing that top spot here in D2, followed by St. Mark's, Sussex Academy, Newark Charter, the Patriots in the mix there, and then Delmar. Then Wilmington Christian, Indian River, Archmere, Friends, and Concord. Now you see the rankings, so let's get to some of our results for this week as we get you all across all of these spring sports, courtesy of the DIAA. We're going to start with your baseball scores here as you see them on your screen, so we'll pause there so you can check that out. Dover getting a big win. You check out all the action here from 4:14 to 4:15 earlier this week. So you take a look at baseball first. Now let's jump over to the girls softball. Here are your results for girls softball from here earlier this week. Check it out. A lot of action here in the DIAA on this week. And we're going to pause that here for a second, get your results, and from softball now over to boys lacrosse. These are all courtesy of DIAA. They've done a phenomenal job on social media. You can find it at DIAA on Facebook. So here's your boys lacrosse scores from this week. You got the rankings, and now you can see how those teams did here on this week in April. We're going to keep it moving now to the girls lacrosse side of things. Some scores this week. As you can take a look there again, some very competitive ones here coming at you in all these sports. From girls lacrosse over to soccer, these are both Division 1 and Division 2 girls soccer scores for you here this week. And a few more to round us out. We're going to touch them all. We're going to hit everything here for you this spring. Every sport, we've got the results. Now head over to boys volleyball, which is really starting to pick up here. It became an official sport a few years back. They've now celebrated their first couple state champions, and they are thriving here in the state of Delaware. Here's some of your boys volleyball scores from this week, and we're going to round it out here with a few more. Here is your track and field scores. We had the Delaware Invitational a few weekends ago there in Newark at the University of Delaware, and now some scores from this week with some of our local high schools, and that'll take us to the finale here. Your tennis scores, boys and girls, on your screen now, courtesy of the DIAA. Very action-packed wings. So many spring sports going on here as we are now almost in and into mid-April. And more results on the diamond last night. We talked about that walk-off. Archmere met Concord at Frawley Stadium, and Archmere's Riley Schultz and Concord's Jacob Kelly both held their opponents to just 3 hits in this one. And we're going to get the highlights for you here as we're rolling it. Concord started the scoring in the 4th. Jacob Kelly on a fielder's choice. Ryan McAllister able to come around and score. Concord 1-0 lead. So the Red Raiders out in front, then Archmere, they would answer quickly. Bottom of the 4th here, following the next half inning, Reese O'Halloran would single for the Auks, and then Riley Schultz would bring him around to score with a single of his own. We are all tied at 1, and then bottom of the 7th, Silas Aulick was hit by a pitch. That will start the inning, and then we're going to keep going. Luke Kelly then going to lay down the sacrifice bunt in a tie game here as the runner on first. Charging the play, bare hand throw, not going to get there, gets past the first baseman, coming all the way around from first and scoring is Aulick, and a walk-off victory here for the Archmere Auks last night at Frawley Stadium, 2-1. They take down undefeated Concord. The Auks improved to 5-4 on the season. Concord suffers their first loss of the season, and a nice little celebration from the Auks out there on the home of the Wilmington Blue Rocks at Frawley Stadium. More action going to be back at that place here tonight. In other news, some possible changes could be coming to the DIAA playoff format in the future. An article this week earlier on Delaware Online, the news journal from Kevin Tressolini, highlighted the possible changes that were discussed, and that included that the DIAA committee that was formed in response to a Senate joint resolution that aimed to determine exactly how dominant private schools have become and if there may be a fairer method to crown our state champions. They found that more tournaments should be split into divisions with qualification procedures altered to aid public schools. The committee concluded that Delaware, with only 50 high schools playing sports, is considered too small to have separate state and private school tournaments, but they discussed, quote, exploring alternative methods to create balanced competition. That included maintaining the present 3-division setup that we have in football now, but also creating 2 divisions in sports that presently have just 1 if there are enough teams in that sport. The DIAA also talked of adopting a new format of state tournaments in which schools are divided into 1 of 4 districts, suggesting they be made up into Newcastle County Public Schools, Kent County Public Schools, Sussex County Public Schools, and all private schools. For more info on all of this going on in the DIAA, you can check out that article by Kevin Tressolini on DelawareOnline.com. Big changes potentially coming, Matt, here to our high school playoff format.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. We will also see you again next week. And the University of Delaware is making a historic transition to Conference USA and NCAA Division I Football Bowl subdivision this summer, marking a pivotal moment in college athletics. This shift coincides with the House versus NCAA settlement, which will allow schools to share revenue with athletes, alter scholarship limits, and expand roster sizes starting on July 1st. Interim Athletic Director Jordan Skolnick emphasized the opportunity to embrace change, ensuring competitiveness in this new era. With Delaware's focus on Title IX compliance and NIL opportunities, the Blue Hens aim to thrive amid evolving dynamics in college sports. And before we leave you today, Governor Matt Meyer kicked off a first state tradition this week by purchasing the very first ticket to the 69th annual DFRC Blue Gold All-Star football game. The ceremonial ticket launch held down in Dover marks the official start of the Blue Gold season. Meyer was joined by DFRC All-Star buddies, high school participants, their families, and program alumni, including Miss Teen Delaware 2024, Kayla Kosmowski. The DFRC Blue Gold game brings together student athletes and participants with intellectual disabilities through its hand-in-hand program. This year's game will take place Friday, June 20th, so mark your calendars, of course, at the University of Delaware. And that's going to do it for today's edition of DETV News. Be sure to like and follow us all across your favorite social media platforms for a look at what's happening all around the state of Delaware. And if you have a comment, question, news, or sports tip, we want to hear from you. Contact us at press@detvch.com. For Shakara, Nick, and all of us here at DETV News, I'm Matt Ford. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you right back here next week. Good night. We don't talk about prostate cancer enough, and it's the most diagnosed form of cancer and the second most common cause of cancer death among Black men in both Delaware and the United States. Approximately 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, but just by asking your healthcare provider if you should get a screening could help you detect prostate cancer early and save your life. So let's talk about it. Talk to your healthcare provider today about a prostate cancer screening if you are 40 years of age or older, or have a family history of prostate cancer. If you don't have insurance, or if your insurance doesn't pay for cancer screenings, Screening for Life may provide you with the screenings that you need, and nurse navigators make this process easier. To learn more, visit healthydelaware.org/prostate or call 211. Ask your healthcare provider about a prostate cancer screening, and you're asking for so much more.
My name is Jason Aviles, and I am the founder and owner of Fly Yogi, and I'm here to share with you some tips to be able to help fight opioid addiction. Opioid addiction is a real growing problem here in America, and I'm here to share with you some tips that you can be able to integrate into your everyday life to really fight against opioid addiction. One of the first things is redeveloping your mindset. One of the practices that I like to use daily is meditation. And what meditation does is it brings you clarity of mind, and it helps keep you grounded, and it improves your ability to make decisions that you are going to benefit from. A lot of the time we find that addiction is rooted in our mindset. It's rooted in how we think and how we perceive, and therefore how we act. So this is a really good way to help fight against that energy of addiction. The second thing is improving your lifestyle through diet and exercise. At the very root of addiction, there is substances within the body that's causing the addiction on a physical level. When we begin to introduce healthier foods, plant-based foods, we begin to remove and detox the substances that are in our body that's causing and attracting the addiction. So through incorporating more fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and even drinking water on a daily basis, you're going to put your body in a state where it's going to be able to fight the root causes of these addictions. The second part is exercise. Exercise is good for mood. It's good for energy. It's good to increase vitality. It's good to get your heart pumping and get your blood flowing and get oxygen moving throughout the body. So through engaging in physical exercise, complemented by incorporating healthier foods, you're putting your body and your mind in a state where it does not want what's causing these things that are manifesting negatively in your life. So addiction can really be decreased by just incorporating a healthier lifestyle through diet and nutrition, exercise, and then also making sure that you're tackling the mind through mindset, through meditation.